Hello, and welcome to today's show, Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, international leadership expert and trusted advisor. Welcome to Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm delighted that you joined me today. I want to give a big thank you to those of you who are listening all around the world. I'm delighted and so grateful that you tuned in. I hope you're enjoying a fabulous day and that you're having a fantastic week. Because you know what? In the grand song of the universe, life is so very short. It's short and sweet and very, very precious. So I hope you're making a difference in your own life, because when you do, you also make a difference in someone else's life. Now, a lot of people want to make their life count for something. And they ask me, Dr. Gloria, how do you do that? Well, it's simple. It's very, very simple. You make your life count day by day, step by step, moment by moment, every single day, 365, 24/7. That's what Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count is all about. You can learn more about Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count by visiting the Gloria Burgess website. That's right, that's GloriaBurgess.com. The Gloria Burgess website. Once again, GloriaBurgess.com, or by visiting me on Facebook. And that's www.facebook.com/Dr. Gloria Burgess, PhD. And that doctor is Dr. Gloria Burgess, PhD, /. Now today, I want to talk with you about one of my favorite topics, daring to wear your soul on the outside, daring to live out loud. Specifically, I'm going to focus on a person who stepped up, who said, you know what, I want more in my life. I want to be more, I want to know more, and I want to serve more. I hope that this story about this amazing person who has transformed her life will inspire you as it has inspired me. And if you are inspired, I will share more about how you too can make that same kind of shift in your own life. I'll share some resources with you later so you can do exactly that. Equip yourself to make the kind of difference in your own life that you're going to hear about in this inspiring story I'm going to share with you today. So once again, folks, today's focus is daring to wear your soul on the outside. It's all about daring to live out loud. So, what time is it? Well, I'm so glad you asked. It's time to sit back, relax, make yourself a cup of tea or coffee, or get a nice tall glass of water, put your feet up, relax in your favorite chair, and don't forget your pen and notepad, because you're going to want to take notes today. We're going to have a great time. If you're just joining us, I'm your host, Dr. Gloria, and this is Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'd like to extend a very special welcome to those of you who are joining my podcast, or if you're joining Talk Network Radio for the very first time. You are in for a real treat. I'm excited to have you listening today, and I'm deeply honored that you've allowed me to be part of your day so you can be inspired by the ideas and resources to make your life count. Today's episode is all about daring. Daring to wear your soul on the outside, or as some people would say, daring to live out loud. a very important topic so you can enjoy the life you love, a life of joy and service. One of my favorite poets, Muriel Rukeyser, reminds us that the world is not made up of atoms. That's right. The world is not made up of atoms. Well, if it's not made up of atoms, then what is it made of? It's made up of stories. And I just love that, don't you? Now let's think about that for just a moment. No matter where you live in the world, you hear stories, right? You hear stories from the time you are born. You hear stories as a little bitty babe in arms, stories around the dinner table, around the fireplace, stories when we go to school, stories in the lunchroom and the hallways, stories when we're ready to leave school, when we're ready to graduate so we can then move on maybe to college or university. Then, when we apply to that college of our dreams, they ask us to share stories about why we want to go there and what we hope to accomplish. Then, once we arrive, we hear stories that are all about that college or university. And then more stories as we move through our studies and then into the workplace. And once we have a job, we hear story after story after story. You know what? Stories are a very big part of our lives. In fact, they are so much a part of our lives, we don't even realize the presence or potency or the power that they have in our lives. Did you know that stories are how we make meaning, how we make sense of our world? That's right. Stories can help us understand who we are. They help us chart and navigate the very different kinds of water in our lives. They actually help us as we move through the many moments, hours, and days of our lives. You know what else? In many cultures all over the world, stories are actually revered as medicine. Stories are thought of and revered as medicine. Think about that. So what does that mean exactly? Well, let's take a look at it. Stories are referred to as medicine because they help to ground us. And when we lose our way, as we often do in our fast-paced world, stories help us. They enable us to come home, to come back, to realign with who we are, and to come back into harmony with whose we are, right? With who we belong to. Now that's so good, isn't it? And so important. So stories are medicine that help ground us, and they help us come home, to come back into harmony with whose we are and who we are. Now, this is true whether we're talking about an individual, whether we're talking about a person like you or me, and it's also true if we're talking about a family, a community, a team, or an organization. Just a couple of days ago, I was with one of my clients, and our specific focus was on team building. And guess what? The resources we used for team building, the resources we used to get from here to there were, that's right, stories. In other words, what needed to be surfaced and made visible and discussed were the stories that lived inside each and every team member. We surfaced and talked about stories that the team could be aware of, and then so that they could be intentional about becoming the best team possible, to put their best foot forward, so to speak, to do their best work in serving one another, as well as serving their customers, vendors, and other stakeholders. Now, the team I was working with was a group of doctors. And their stakeholders, well, their stakeholders include patients and their families and other doctors and nurses and physician assistants and so many more people. And the same is true no matter what kind of professional group I'm working with. It could be a team of teachers or a team of attorneys, marketers, administrators, stockbrokers, artists, civic leaders. It doesn't matter. Their common ground is always found and made visible through stories. So, as I said earlier, stories are powerful medicine. It's been said that stories are small doses of what matters, and it is in the telling of stories that's so important. Why is that? Because the telling is what releases the medicine. It is the telling that soothes our pain and shares our joy. I'm going to repeat that. It is the telling that releases the medicine. And it is the telling that soothes our pain and shares our joy. In the Kiswahili language, the words habari gani mean, what's the news? Or what's happening now? So in the next little while, I will share with you a small dose of what's happening now, of what matters in the lives of ordinary people. In fact, I want to share with you one particular story today. And this story that I will share breathes the timeless, universal truths of what I call the 7 sacred promises. They are truths that mentor us in ways of being that are older than time. Truths that just breathe beneath the surface of our ever-busy lives. They are truths that, when we make them visible in our life, we can actually draw on them with conscious intention to shape our daily choices, actions, and decisions. So, what are the sacred promises? They are gratitude, faith, love, vision, integrity, creative action, and legacy. You hear me talk about these promises every week, right here. And today, you're going to hear more about these sacred promises through the inspiring story I'm going to share with you. This story begins with a small dose of what matters, and it's taken from some of the big themes in one of my poems, a poem called Song to Myself. Now, you know that all of the stories I share with you are about people who are just like you and me. How is that? Well, it's because we're all people who care. We care about ourselves, we care about one another, and we all want to leave the world a little bit better off than the way we found it. As stewards of the future, we dare to wear our souls on the outside so that we can be in right relationship with ourselves and right relationships with others. As instruments of soul, we sound the way for others. We sound the way for folks in our immediate circles and beyond. Did you know that you are a magnificent story? And as you live your life, you are actually painting on the canvas of your soul and the canvas of eternity. I hope you will be moved by this story of hope, radiance, and celebration. And as you encounter the people you will meet today, I trust that you will feel the sweet shimmer of your own story and hear the rich resonance and powerful medicine of your own true voice. I trust that you will bask in the joy and inspiration of this story, allowing it to illuminate your own life. I also trust that you will accept the gifts offered so that you can pass this story on and faithfully serve by lighting the path for someone else, by making a difference for someone else. So now I invite you to get cozy. Sip on your cup of tea or your favorite coffee and join me by the hearth. Join me at the fire to hear the good news. I will begin this story with a brief excerpt from my poem, Song to Myself. It doesn't matter to me how much bread you can afford to put on your own table. I want to know if you will knead and wait and bake the bread and share your blessings at someone else's table. Now, I want you to meet a very special person. Her name is Darlene. Her story offers lessons for all of us. This story about Darlene takes place right around Christmas, and it brings me great joy and inspiration no matter what the season. Darlene lived in a small trailer home with her 2 young sons. She moved to the trailer home shortly after divorcing her husband. Christmas was fast approaching, but Darlene had no extra money. As she stared at the floor of her tiny living room, she thought, "This will definitely be a year without presents for my boys." She could give them her love, and that was all. Knowing that they were too young to understand that love is what Christmas should be all about, she also knew that her sons would have to learn. Darlene had no idea that her boys would learn about love and a whole lot more. In Darlene's own words, it was Christmas Eve. We had a record snowfall. My boys went outside to shovel our walkway and driveway to keep up with the quickly falling snow. As evening came, they went next door and helped our elderly neighbor, Jim, shovel his driveway. When they came inside, I suggested we sing Christmas carols, and then each of us would tell a story about our best ever Christmas. Darlene recalls how happy she and her sons were. We had a good time just being together. Neither of my sons asked me why we didn't have a tree this year. That night, when I was sure my sons were sound asleep, I sat on the couch in our tiny living room and I just wept. I cried for me, I cried for my sons, I even cried for my ex-husband. Sometimes I cried tears of sadness. Sometimes I wept for joy. I finally went to bed and cried myself to sleep. The next morning, on Christmas Day, Darlene got up bright and early. She peered outside and saw that the snowstorm had passed. The sky was a bright, bright blue, and everywhere you looked, snow, white, sparkling, new-fallen snow. The boys would love to make snow angels, she thought. They both loved to be the first to make footprints in the fresh snow, and they loved making snow angels. Sometimes they'd lay down head to head in the snow and make a double angel. Darlene says, "I don't know why, but I opened the door of our trailer to check our mailbox. No one, not even the mail truck, could have made it through all that snow, but I checked it anyway. To my surprise, there was a note inside. My boys had told our neighbor Jim that Santa Claus wouldn't be visiting our house this year because we had no money. I turned the note over, and taped to the back was a crisp, clean $50 bill. Jim had given me enough money to buy the boys what they wanted, new baseball mitts. In addition, there was enough left over to restock the basic groceries we needed. Jim's only request was that when I was able to do so, that I help others as he helped us. Well, that morning, when my sons got up, I told them about the $50 Jim had given us for their Christmas gifts. They looked at each other with surprise and glee, then abruptly stopped their celebration as they realized the significance of Jim's gift. You see, Jim wasn't well off either. As a matter of fact, the utility company had shut off his power once already that winter because he couldn't pay his bill. The boys quickly put on their coats to go next door to thank Jim for his generous gift. But they stopped short when they opened the trailer door and saw a perfectly formed, adult-sized snow angel right in front of our steps. The snow angel surprised them, but there were absolutely no footprints in the snow, just the angel. We never did find out who made the snow angel. Jim said there was no way that he could or would get down in the snow and flap his arms and legs like that. But we know an angel brought us quite a blessing that Christmas. Jim passed away the following spring. My boys and I still think about that special Christmas and how Jim gave without asking for anything in return, just that we help others as he helped us. We've made a point of doing just that. And we have faith that we're touching other people's lives just like Jim touched ours. I just love Darlene and her story. And I know if I were to ask her, Habari Gani, she would tell me, I'm so glad my sons learned the true meaning of Christmas all those years ago. I'm glad that I know the blessing and what it really means to pass it on. Not everybody does. Darlene and her sons are creating a ripple effect in their family, community, and beyond, simply by saying yes to God's legacy, for saying yes to daring to wear their souls on the outside. For Darlene and her sons, wearing their souls on the outside is something they get to do every day, no matter where they are or who they're with. Now, if you remember, I began Darlene's story with these lines from my poem, Song to Myself. It doesn't matter to me how much bread you can afford to put on your own table. I want to know if you will knead and wait and bake the bread and share your blessings at someone else's table. You know what? When we live out loud, it makes all the difference, doesn't it? Now, sometimes people ask me, Dr. Gloria, doesn't it hurt to live out loud? Doesn't it hurt to wear your soul on the outside? Well, can I just tell you something? The alternative hurts a whole lot more. The alternative is not living out loud. Not living out loud is what keeps you stuck. That's what keeps you living in fear. That's what keeps you from stepping into the life that God has planned just for you. And as I've said before, don't let fear steal your joy. Don't let fear suck the life right out of you. You were made for joy. You were made for service. You were made to stand in the amazing power of your own true voice. That's what daring to wear your soul on the outside, daring to live out loud, is all about. Well, I certainly hope that this story about Darlene and her family being given a very special gift and the blessing for her sons to learn what it means to pass it on and give back to others, I hope her story has inspired you today. I know it has inspired me. Now I'm going to share my entire poem with you so that you can hear how Darlene's story fits into the overall context of this poem. You know that I coach and consult with leaders all the time, and I also write and speak about leadership, focusing specifically on values-based leadership. And my clients love it because I'm one of the few leadership coaches and consultants who focuses on values. And my clients will often ask me to tell them more about my life, to share more of my own story with them. And I do. I often share this poem with them because my story lives and breathes inside of this poem. I simply tell them, if you really want to know more about me, just read or listen to this poem. Okay, let me share it with you now. Song to myself. It doesn't matter to me what you do or where you work. I want to know who you are when the sun goes down, and if you are willing to put everything on the line to fulfill your soul's desire. It doesn't matter to me how much bread you can afford to put on your own table. I want to know if you will knead and wait and bake the bread and share your blessings at someone else's table. I want to know if you can look into the eyes of the young woman who sleeps with fear each night. The one who dared to walk away from the hands that pummeled her. I want to know if you can share her pain. It doesn't matter to me what neighborhood you live in or what kind of car you drive. I want to know what drives you. What compels you to follow your soul's longing? I want to know what pierces your heart, awakens you at night, and inspires you to devote yourself to whomever or whatever moves you. I want to know how many times you've opened your heart and extended a hand to your homeless sister or brother. I want to know if you will sit in the quiet, dark hours between midnight and dawn, listening to another's heart song. It doesn't matter to me how many unspeakable secrets you have. I want to know if you will share your secrets to liberate your demons so they don't devour you or those you love. I want to know if you will risk looking foolish to embrace your bliss. I want to know if you will grasp the sleeve of a nameless elder stumbling on his way and lead him in from the cold. I want to know if you will throw away your cloak and show your heart, if you will dare to wear your soul on the outside. It doesn't matter to me how many mountains you've climbed or will climb. I want to know if you've fallen down in the valley of despair. I want to know if you've scarred your knees on the stones of self-abandonment. I want to know how long you've been hidden in the shadows of hypocrisy, prejudice, addiction, abuse. I want to know if you will stop to light a candle and pray with others who will surely wander there. It doesn't matter to me what you say you will do for others. I want to know if you will act with courage and conviction, if you will daily cradle the frail hand of your mother when she no longer knows your name. I want to know if you will look into the hazel, gray, or ebony eyes of a stranger and say yes, yes, to affirm your sister, your brother, yourself. I want to know if you will take the time to be still, call the names, and pass the cup to honor the ancestors who cleared a path and broke new ground for you and your children. It doesn't matter to me that you have a past. I want to know if you will celebrate your present, if you will take a stand, declare yourself, sing, I am, boldly and with rejoicing, not only to the stars at night, but to anyone, anywhere, without apologies or regrets. Yes. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all take a stand and declare ourselves and sing, I am, boldly and with rejoicing. Declare ourselves by lifting up and celebrating the awesome, incredible power of our own gifts, our own true voice. Because you know what? That's how God made us. That's how God made us. We were not made to play small or to hide out or to believe what the world would have us believe, that we are missing something, that we are insufficient, that we are not enough. Oh no, we are children of the Most High. God made us to stand up and to be counted. And when you can stand up and declare yourself, you can help somebody else do the same. You actually give them permission. When you make that kind of difference in your own life, you can make that kind of difference not only in your own life, but also in somebody else's life. That's how you do it. That's how you do it, day by day, step by step, moment by moment, smile by smile, every single day, 365, 24/7. You can learn more about the ideas and resources I shared with you today. And in particular, you can learn more about the story I just shared with you today. You can also find resources to equip and inspire you to make your life count by visiting the Gloria Burgess website. That's www.gloriaburgess.com. www.gloriaburgess.com. And, as I've mentioned before, if you love to be inspired, you can actually subscribe to my inspirations right on my website. Just scroll down a little bit, look on the right sidebar until you see the place to add your email address to subscribe to my weekly inspirations. It's that simple. Each week, you get a lovely photograph and a short quotation that inspires you. If you missed any part of this week's podcast, or last week's, or any podcast for that matter, you can listen to this episode at your convenience. You can even listen to it on the go. You can find all of my podcasts right here at www.talknetworkradio.com/hosts/legacy living. That's talknetworkradio.com/hosts/legacy living. You can also check me out on iTunes, Audible, Alexa, SoundCloud, iHeart, TuneIn, Spreaker.com, Talk Network Radio, and so many other places. Or you can also find me on the TEDx site and listen to one of my TED Talks. Just type in my name to find me there. Before I close today, I want to thank each one of you for tuning in, for allowing me to share a bit about my journey with what legacy living is all about. Not just living and learning, but living and learning and serving so that you make a difference in your own life and in the lives of other people. It's about being on purpose every single day, 365, 24/7. Legacy living is a powerful way to make your life count. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, and this has been Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Please join me again next time right here for another episode of Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Have a fantastic day, and remember, make the days in your life count. God bless. That's our show today. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess. I hope you'll join me again next time. Until then, don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Here's to you. Have a fantastic day, and be sure to make it a yes kind of day. Remember to celebrate the music of your life. Make the days in your life count.